Hey everybody, welcome back to Absolutely Marvel in DC. I'm Dylan, that is Sal, and today we're talking about The Book of Boba Fett, Season 1, Episode 5. Also known as The Mandalorian, Season 3, Episode 1.
Yes it was.
And I really like this episode. What's happening with this show?
Everybody loves The Mandalorian.
Well, yeah.
So yeah, you love this episode, of course. It was directed by a Mandalorian director, Bryce Dallas Howard. It was written by a Mandalorian writer. It starred The Mandalorian. It wasn't about Boba Fett's asinine Godfather plot.
Boba Fett wasn't in it.
Boba Fett wasn't even in the damn thing. It was great. I mean,
this is a fun episode.
It's a great episode. Are you kidding me? And I hate the prequels, and I love this episode.
Yeah, which there's a lot of we've talked. I feel like Dave Filoni is becoming less and less interested in hiding the fact that he loves the prequels to the point where friggin' Naboo Starfighter is now the Mandalorian's new ship, which is insane.
Well, the droid drop ship was the Razor Crest, so
yeah.
I remember in Mandalorian, I remember being so pissed. I was like, when he flies in, I'm like, it's one of them damn clone ships.
Stupid gunships.
Yeah, and I just moved on, and you know what? I was all the better for it. I loved the show. I moved on. But and so at this point, you've gotten 2 seasons out of me for Mandalorian. So I love this character. I love this show. I love the creators. So I'm on board. So when they made it a Naboo Starfighter, I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go. I'm a little shocked he didn't say, now this is pod racing. But I am excited.
But it did say wizard.
He did say wizard! And that is so stupid and so funny. It was, I loved it. My wife and I were just like, he said wizard! That's amazing! How dumb! But also funny. I don't know. It is everything I want out of Star Wars at this point. I think everyone else too. Anybody who's like, I love this episode, I'm like, so what you're looking for from Star Wars is just getting a reach around by the franchise.
Oh, no.
Basically just being like, yup, remember that? You know that? You know this? Well, but also, it's still there.
There's a whole lot of, look at this in this episode, but also
the debris,
good writing.
The debris from the pod racer breaking the barrier during the bike chase is still there.
Uh-huh.
It's all there. But yes, no, there's also a damn good story, and it moves us along, because I think we established in the previous Mandalorian how there are degrees of Mandalorians, and the sect that Jaren is part of is extreme. And it's only gotten in his way. He could have settled down and gotten gotten down with a cute lady. He could have raised a family, and all because he can't take his stupid helmet off. And but now he's not. So he can just do what he wants now.
Yeah. I love the I don't know, and I want to talk a lot about, we talked about it last episode, but I think this one too, I want to talk a lot about Star Wars' shared universe. And I think this episode really cements that they're doing it right. And I they could have very easily made this episode a cold open of Mando farting around doing nothing of substance, and then he goes to Tatooine. And they could have very easily done that. But no, they're like, oh, well, we're going to do the story that would get Mando to sign on to this, and by the end of the episode he's still no, I gotta do something else first.
Yeah.
So we're getting another episode next week.
Well, are we, or is that is it gonna be an episode of preparing for the fight, and then Mando will show up and you'll see that paid off in the Mandalorian show? I
hope not. I hope we just get another episode of The Mandalorian.
See, I think we're done with Mandalorian in terms of in terms of this flagrant hijacking of this other show to give us a show you'd rather watch. I think they're right. I think we're good. Look, I'm not. I want more Mandalorian. I was coming around on Boba Fett. The last episode, I was like, no, I get where you're going with this. It's pretty fun. Every time I watch Boba Fett, I'm like, this is kind of fun. I enjoyed it in terms of it being things that happen in front of my eyes, and I participated in its enthusiasm. And there's always some degree I liked, but then they show you Mandalorian, I'm like, this is demonstrably better.
Right. Because it's like, it's a character that we care about, and it's a character that we know. And like the whole thing about The Mandalorian to begin with is like, it's Boba Fett, but interesting. Like that's what it is. Yes. So you make a show about Boba Fett and it goes nowhere. And then The Mandalorian shows back up and you're like, all right, this is what we're all here for.
Well, isn't it weird that, like, the 2 Disney Plus Star Wars shows are both about bucket-headed Mandalorians? Like, what's the third show gonna be? Like, another? Like, is it gonna be about Bo-Katan? You know, like,
Obi-Wan in a
that's right, it's Obi-Wan, right. But I mean, like, hey, listen, there's no way that The Mandalorian is not gonna show. No, I think, because, yeah, Obi-Wan's the first prequel sequel show. Mm-hmm. So it's not technically like after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's right.
Although, like, all of these are prequels from a certain point of view.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Boba Fett could still show up in the Obi-Wan show, but he'd have to be much thinner.
Mm-hmm. So going back to what I was saying about the shared universe, they do a lot of really, really cool things in this episode that, like, I don't think I'm ready to make this claim yet, but I'm getting close of Star Wars somehow handling a shared universe better than, like, even Marvel has. And I think that's just because of crazy that I'm saying this about Star Wars. The subtlety that they're doing it with is nuts to me. Like, I've not read a ton of the comics post Disney, but I've read enough. And I played Fallen Order. I've watched a good majority of the Clone Wars. I know what happens in, like, the other shows for the most part. So, like, being able to like understand where things are being referenced from enough to be like, oh, okay, like the whole scene where they talk about the fall of Mandalore. I know that those shots, beautiful shots by the way, are echoed from the Clone Wars, and all of that happens in the Clone Wars. But there's no, like, it's not, they don't, like, shove it under the rug like a Marvel movie would do, or it's like, oh, this all happened in their movie, which, again, like, sometimes you have to do. But,
or never happened. Like, Xandar's destroyed.
Yeah, you don't see
You're never gonna see that.
Right. And, like, but they've so expertly in this show, and especially in this episode, or just in Star Wars in general now, have, like, taken these bits of canon and reference back to them in such, like, expert ways where, like, it's clear that all of this happens in a different show, but if you don't know that, this is clearly important for Mandalorian Season 3. We're going to explain it here so that you're primed for it when we go back to Mandalore in Season 3. It's
one of those things that was really important in Season 2 when they introduced, like, Bo-Katan and all the other Mandalorian, and I'm like, this is cartoon shit. And, and it didn't detract from the plot.
Right.
Like, it was still about Mandalorian, even if there was all this other stuff that was clearly, like, paying off stuff I didn't watch. And I'm like, we can all enjoy this.
The same thing with the Darksaber, like, going back to that. Like, the Darksaber shows up at the end of Season 1, and if you have no idea what the Darksaber is, you're like, what is that dark lightsaber?
Yeah, no, literally, I remember seeing it being like, oh god, it's the Darksaber.
But if you've watched a lot of the Clone Wars, you're like, oh, what the hell? The Darksaber?
Yeah,
what? And then it starts to click. You're like, oh, that makes sense because this is about the Mandalorians, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And even, like, to the point of, I read some comments about this. I haven't watched a lot of Star Wars Rebels, but in that show, another Mandalorian wields the Darksaber and is trained by a Jedi to use it. Yes. And apparently in that show, she has similar struggles that Mando is having in
where
this,
it gets heavier and
its weight and everything, which is so cool. And that's so like, you don't need it. You don't need to know that that's a connection, that's not being set up in this show for the first time. But the BD droid as well from Fallen Order. That's why I mentioned Fallen Order. Like,
amazing.
What a cool thing!
And, like,
just ties everything together.
Just tossing this out there. Like, I think that if you want to, like, have poetry in your Star Wars because it's important to have everything rhyme.
Of course.
Grogu is with Luke Jediing. I think we'll see a cameo from Grogu, but if we want to move on, have BD stow aboard the ship, and he is Mando's new partner. And because Mando can have a little friend in every show.
That'd be fun. I think also like I mentioning BD specifically as well. Like I love the moment of him like just letting BD help him and saying thanks, buddy, to him is like such like a small like, oh right, this character is developed. At the beginning of his show, hated droids.
Right now he's like, well, that would be a great. Hey, listen, more BD. Now now BD has become his like little like partner. Again, I can imagine the comments already being choked to people being like, subtlety? You mean like having him do all these obvious things that are references and how unsubtle that is? Or so your Star Wars is just references? And it's like, in all three of the original trilogy, they all say, I've got a bad feeling about this. Like, they've been doing it since the beginning. But
I think the difference is like there's Easter eggs and then there's references. And it's like this show is not full of like because a lot of the time you can feel when an Easter egg is on screen, you can feel it's like, oh, there's that I don't know what is.
You mean like when John Boyega picks up the training ball in Force Awakens?
Yeah, and it's like...
It just looks at it for a second and then
throws it over his for a laugh. Oh!
Yeah, Ghostbusters Afterlife has more of that, I will say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
And it's like, that's something that's like, just use it. Like Star Wars is all about like the original like set dressing and way that they built like sets and props for Star Wars is by grabbing random shit and sticking it all together. Yep. And now they're at a point where they have so much lore in all of these shows, all of these comics. They're just doing the same thing with their own lore now. They're just like, take that, put it in the show. It'll make nerds happy, and also side effect, it makes our universe feel like cemented and cool.
It's lived in, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. I'm thinking like, because I've seen this episode has a lot of like outside references too. Like it's got a Superman allusion. It's got that scene of the SO droids or whatever they're called, the K2SOs annihilating Mandalore. I'm like, that's just Terminator.
Cool. Yeah,
but like, true. But also, holy shit! I got to see Terminator in Star Wars, and you use the the whatever the hell they're called. I don't know which is the designate, but like K2SOs are one of the few things I really really like about Rebels. I was like, that's a really cool idea. I really like those droids, and seeing them actually being used to do that was really cool. That's it.
Yeah,
just like
fair.
Yeah, like what? It's like I remember crying foul of that in episode 3 when George Lucas put a Frankenstein allusion into the Vader resurrection, and everyone being like, but why though? And I get it. It's because like George likes old cinema and he wanted to do that. And it's like, yeah, well, why is there Terminator in Star Wars? Because it's friggin' dope looking. That's why.
Yeah. Sure.
Because it's fun, and because Bryce Dallas Howard was in Terminator, and she'd like to see it again. Remember, she was in Terminator friggin' Salvation. She played John Connor's wife. What? By the way, just a petition here. You got the wrong Howard to make your Star Wars movies.
This is true.
Can she be the Feige of the Star Wars movies? Like, just take Favreau, Filoni, and Howard, and just go do a trilogy. With
totally.
In like a Skywalker trilogy. Like, that's the team. Don't get like a guy who made a subversive indie movie and say, you have not only the next movie, but also an entire trilogy all to yourself. Oops.
Who? What?
It's the most divisive Star Wars movie ever made.
The sequels don't have at all like anything that has existed prior.
Right.
They just make shit up.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, then, sure, obviously you need new ideas. We wouldn't have The Mandalorian without new ideas. But, like...
But even then, we know what Mandalorians are. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, Mandalorian is... I don't know. It's a cocktail, but a delicious one that I'll drink into oblivion because I love Mandalorian and what they're doing. And how they're doing it. It's not just like, I like Mandalorian. Give me a cartoon. Give me a comic book. Like, no. I want these people's Mandalorian, like these guys. We haven't talked about Boba Fett at all, and let me tell you something. That says everything about Boba Fett, right? Like, and I think telegraphs the success of Star Wars, where it's like, you better get the right people on the right property with the right direction and understand what Star Wars is to people. Because, like, as I said in the last episode, nobody heard me, was Star Wars is very individualized. It's very personal to people. And like, in order to catch everybody, you need to either make it super generic, or you need to just be like, just be like, this is the Star Wars for people who like comedy, and this is the Star Wars people who like action, and this is the Star Wars people who like romance. Like, you need to just make individualized Star Wars and just be like, here you go. Because like, that's right. Like, that's what the books were. The books were just like super nerdy and super detail oriented. That's why they weren't generally popular. Like,
right.
The video games, like, people loved Battlefront because it's just Doom with like Star Wars or Dark Forces, but like not a lot of them played, you know, like the strategy games or X-Wing or TIE Fighter, you know, like, because it didn't placate to those specializations. But like, you know who did? People who like that kind of thing. It's just proof that there's Star Wars for everybody. Just know who you're making it for and don't spend $600 million to do it, you know? Because like, that's the problem, right? They're like, oh, we can't make Star Wars work for Star Wars fans because there aren't enough of them to pay me to make our money back when we spend $300 million to make a Star Wars movie. And it's like, then don't spend $300 million to make a Star Wars movie, you know? Or, like Red Alert Media suggested, just make Star Wars tickets $50.
Yeah, sure.
Right? Like, because here's the thing, like, Star Wars fans have proven they'll just pay whatever it costs to go. So like, just be like, okay, normal movies are like $10. Star Wars I think movies are $20 now. But like, normal movie, $15, $20. Star Wars movie, $50. And we'll make our money back. And you'll pay it.
You get a little plastic lightsaber with your ticket. You'll go wild for it.
Right, exactly. A thing that cost me pennies in China to make, here you go. Yeah, and they're exclusive. They have numbers on them.
Yeah, ooh. This one's yellow. Whoa!
Yeah, I don't know, but yes, big thumbs up from like everybody, and I think that's just like,
yeah,
everyone being like, we all hate Boba Fett.
We like the Mandalorian,
but don't worry, we all still like Mandalorian, so don't not make season 3. There we are. Oh, what do you think the Beskar toy is?
Oh, that the thing
he made for Grogu.
It's all wrapped up, and it looks like Grogu's head. What a stupid! I love that. I have no idea. Because I feel like anything I can think of is like too goofy.
Like a helmet?
Yeah, like a helmet or like a chainmail armor or something. Like,
yeah.
What I think would be cool, I don't know if this would make any sense, but I think it would be neat if no, this is stupid now that I'm thinking about it. I was gonna say
okay.
if they forge Grogu's hilt, his lightsaber hilt.
See, I immediately thought it was a hilt. And I think it's just a ball.
Yeah, oh yeah. It could be a ball.
Like,
he does like balls.
He likes balls. Grogu likes balls.
Grogu likes balls.
You know? So
That'd
I think
be cute.
I think it's just a ball. And it's just like like, this is what we bonded over, was you trying to steal my balls. And you wanting them so badly.
I do think, like, you know, because I think we both agree that Yoda using a lightsaber and is stupid.
It's grotesque, yeah.
Yes.
I'm
think
wrong, by the way. In the last episode, somebody gave me like a manifesto about why that was totally justified, and I'm like, it's subjective, pal. But whatever.
Yeah.
But yes,
okay. That's how I would reply to that.
I guess apparently, even though you say like an opinion, you have to say like, me personally, my opinion. I feel like Yoda wielding lightsabers is repugnant.
Agreed.
Please carry on.
I think, you know, there's so many drawings of like Yoda's species, but looking cool, or like young Yoda with like dreadlocks and a lightsaber.
Yes,
and I'm like,
seen them.
That's so stupid. Stop.
So you don't understand Yoda. You don't like Yoda. You want him to be somebody else. Like, you want to be Samurai Jack.
That's right.
Okay.
I think what would be more cool is, instead of seeing like Yoda flip around and do stuff, if you need to have a member of Yoda's species fight, I think they're so strong in the Force, like that's kind of their whole thing. Like,
yeah,
Grogu, like you know, like Magneto in the X-Men movies.
Yeah,
he's just got balls that he throws at people. That'd be neat.
Yeah. No, Grogu gets a ball, and it's just like, it's made of Beskar, so it's indestructible.
Right.
And it's just like, yeah, I whip it at people with the Force, and it wrecks their day. It's like having a bullet, and the Force is my gun. Like, that's what it is. Yeah, no, I think that's exactly what we're gonna say. I think I think we're going to go so far as to be like, we're setting things up. Like, Grogu's getting a Beskar ball. And you're going to think, like, what can he do with that ball, right? Like, it's a ball. It's cute. It's sentimental. Yay. And then they're going to get attacked. Maybe by, like, the Knights of Ren or something. And Grogu's going to use that ball. Like, there were actually 12 of them or 15 of them. And Grogu killed, like, 8 of them. It's like that scene in what's it called? In Robot Chicken when Boba Fett falls into the Sarlacc pit. Yeah, and then, like, 80 Jedi showed up. And I killed, like, 67 of them. But then,
of course.
That's exactly what this is. Anyway, yay. It was nice to see Mandalorian. I loved how it was just called Return of the Mandalorian. It was just like...
Yeah.
It was like...
I love I saw some comments about people saying, like, we weren't sure if the Mandalorian was coming back. And I'm like, what do you mean? Of course he is.
I saw a comment that was like, how can you say the show is already filmed? How do you know they're not, like, making it as it's coming out? And I'm like, what?
That's not how this works.
That's
not how they shot it yesterday? Man.
Right? Like, but if they did, they still would have done this episode because they'd been like, they hate it.
Yeah. I mean,
I will say Mandalorian.
I will say I for sure had that thought. I was like, are they, like, just making this as it goes?
You know what it is? No, this was the pilot episode. This is the first episode of season 3. And they went like, put it out as episode 5. We'll reshoot. We'll shoot another first episode. Yeah.
That's fair. God. I would love if that were the case. But yeah, this is definitely like, you could pull that last scene out of this episode and just shove it into season 3 of The Mandalorian, which I think is like...
that last scene was fun, though. Great. It was like Fennec Shand being like, hey, remember me? I debuted in your show, too. Yeah. Actually, I think she's a cartoon as well, but, like, whatever.
I don't remember. That would make sense.
I've seen cartoon versions of her, like, from the CG show, so I have no idea. Like, I think she's a cartoon. But in any case, yeah. You could just cut that out and be like, that was the show. And then we just shot that. They just shot that scene.
Yeah, fair. They shot that yesterday.
Right, yeah. No, but they don't. Like, they don't. They don't make the show as it's coming out. Nor did they make it, like, 2 months ago.
No, yeah, that's not how this works. I think it's possible that they just, like, kind of knew that this was much needed pacing.
Yeah, I think they were just like, we want to remind people that the Mandalorian's going to come back. Like, they're so jazzed for Boba Fett, but then we'll be like, yeah, and some icing on the cake is going to be Mandalorian. Oh no, they hate it.
I definitely I've told people that they shouldn't watch Boba Fett. Like, don't bother with it up until like now. I'm like, well, maybe stick around.
Well, you can watch episode 5.
Yeah, just skip everything and just watch episode 5 and 6 maybe if it has more.
Well, we'll
it's
see.
Another Mandalorian episode.
Is this it? Is it like, how many episodes are there? 8?
2 more.
6, 8?
6 and 7.
Oh god. Okay, fine. 7. All right.
Weird number. I think number. Like that's another one of the reasons why I think we might get another maybe at least half of a Mandalorian episode.
Right.
Just because like. I think based on this episode where they very much could have just done a cold open and then that's it for like solo Mando time. So that like, you know, lends credence to them doing another episode where at the end he's like, I gotta go do something else. Yeah, I gotta go see Grogu. And like a 7th episode, like I don't think they have enough plot to fill 2 full episodes of a trade war.
I don't think they do either, but I don't think that's gonna stop them.
No, that's fair. I'm hoping for the best though, at least.
I saw, I was thinking about those hot rodding teenagers again, the neutrinos, and I was like,
of course.
I was thinking about them, and I'm like, is this really that bad? And then like I saw the establishing shot of them. You know, when like the girl shows up, she's like, yeah, we came from the streets. And that one dude who looks like Cyborg from that one episode of Doom Patrol, like the first episode when they were like not sure how the makeup test is gonna work, and he turns and he looks really stupid, and I was like, yeah, no, this sucks. Like, this sucks. The idea of like teenagers modifying themselves using using droid parts is just like, is it something that I'm sure exists in the Star Wars universe? Like, yeah. Yeah. Does it look good? No, not at all. Not at all. Like, you mean to tell me they removed her fleshy hand, replaced just this part with the droid, and like, what? Like, it's like that RoboCop thing. Like, remember in the RoboCop reboot, they did the exact same thing. We're like, well, we kept your real hand, attached to a robot forearm, and then attached to your fleshy part. I'm like, he's made of metal. Like, if she punches someone, the metal's gonna blast through her flesh hand.
Yeah.
It's just like there's no thought, and it just looks. They're like, oh, it's fun, and I'm like, that's nothing about this is fun. This is an idea. This is a first idea.
That's definitely like that's I think that's one of the examples that's like a bad example of world building based off of like, you know, pre-existing stuff. Because like in Star Wars, it's just, you know, it's hand wave. Luke gets a robot hand, moving on. Like it's not a huge deal.
Right. Yeah.
But now like everyone's doing it, and it's all over the place. Right. And there's like a red light district filled with people who do this.
Well, and none of us complained when he used that exact same idea to fix Fennec Shand. And it's like, oh, so death doesn't exist in the Star Wars universe anymore because you just replace those parts with robot stuff.
Unless you're giving birth to Luke and Leia, then you're gonna die no matter what.
Well, and you die because you're just don't be so sad.
Yeah, of course.
That's what happened.
Don't be sad about it. Don't get force choked by your husband.
Yeah, well, don't. Remember that didn't kill her. It was being sad. Killed her.
Well, and because by the way, like, she got force choked by Anakin.
I don't think it was the betrayal. I think it's because he's like fallen. I think it was just. I think that her death was just like her being so sad that Anakin couldn't like that Anakin wasn't the wonderful man that she knew, except he never was. And I'm glad because it's really like sad that like not being a mother. Like it was like no, my husband being a bad guy was so overwhelmingly bad that even having children will never give me respite. I should just die.
So you're telling me in the Star Wars universe they don't got a cyborg implant that cures depression? What's even the point?
Come on. Just replace half your face with a droid face.
Yeah, obviously.
Or whatever. Or just replace the forearm with a robot arm.
That'll fix all your problems.
That'll fix all your problems. I don't know, man. They're talking about there's no water. I'm like, well, you're robots. Just replace the parts that need water.
Or we're way off the rails now.
Yeah, all right. That's what happens. Star Wars does that.
It's true. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Anyway. 2 more episodes left of Book of Boba Fett, so stay tuned. Still haven't seen a book yet, so...
No book! Coming.
But it's coming. Thanks for watching Absolutely Marvel and DC. I'm Dylan, that's Sal. Catch y'all next time.